Well, greetings, everyone, and welcome once again to another Wednesday night session of the Sports Crib. Getting all our little advertisements and commercials out of the way. You can see on the bottom, this is the Sports Crib, home of the Sports Crib Network. You can see me on social media as West Coast Steeler fan. And you can subscribe and donate to us under Cash JE King 3 $, excuse me, JE King 3. So let's get the program on tonight. Don is away. He has visitors actually. Dave has just left Munich this morning. And Demetrius says he'll be here in about 10 minutes. So let's get this show on the road, guys. A lot of moves being made in the NBA. Of course, we've seen a lot of moves, especially after the Nuggets won their season. So everybody's trying to make moves now. The Nuggets seem to have traded away Bruce Brown and I believe it was Jeff Green. They've everybody thinks they kind of deteriorated, not deteriorated, but at least got a step down. Where at least now they feel that they're vulnerable. So there's been a lot of talk about the Lakers and all these other teams, but gentlemen, let's get into a little bit of this. Let me grab up my little agenda here. Okay. So, the NBA has decided that they're going to test a flopping penalty in the Summer League. The flopper gets an unsportsmanlike technical foul. It's not counted as a technical or a personal foul, so I'm not really sure how that works out. And the opposing team gets one shot in the possession of the ball. Bill, your thoughts? Bill? Are you on mute, Bill? We cannot hear you. Your mouth is moving, but we cannot hear you.
You can't hear me?
There we go.
Now we can hear you.
Oh, okay. Got it. So as a person who started his acting training back in 1982, 83, maybe 83. So a person who began training as an actor 40 years ago, I can tell you that I've seen some truly brilliant performances that would rival even the best of Junius Brutus Booth or Sir John Gielgud or Ethel Barrymore. I mean, think of all the greats in the history of acting. I've seen particularly like 7 foot, 287-pound guys get brushed by, like someone basically graces their jersey, and they're practically paralyzed, right? They lose the ability to see or smell. Wails and screams are heard, such as you would associate normally with someone being splashed in the face with lye. And so it is exciting to hear that someone is going to at least attempt to separate the truly great actors, right, who can convey that agony without overacting, from those that feel the need to, as they used to say, gnaw at the scenery. So I'm excited to see how this will work. It will probably be a spectacular failure. But if it does work, which I would love, I mean, I love it either way. If it's a spectacular failure, it'll be fun to watch. But if it actually works, if we can actually regulate the bad acting in the NBA, yes, I will truly be excited to see that happen.
Reggie.
I'm going to kind of piggyback on what Bill just said. I mean, it was reminiscent. Some of that stuff is reminiscent of what you see in the WWE. And if you watch wrestling and you think about wrestling and how fake it is, somebody coming off the rope or something like that, that's what you would see. You'll watch a point guard bulldoze at center somehow, and you're thinking, like, how is this possible? Just from a gravity standpoint, for a person to fly that much, and you watch the replay, the person didn't even touch the guy, and there's no repercussion for it. So I feel like there should be some. I mean, let's try something. There needs to be some repercussions for these actions, because some of these turn into two points for games that are only separated by 2 points. So it's determining wins and losses, and it's not based on any skill besides your acting skills or how long have you been in the NBA. What's your flop game like? You know what I mean? So these are the things that you would have to work on outside of your game in order to get some of these calls. So I am very happy that something here is being done.
Remember the first year that they didn't call the Harden flops, and how upset he got? He had to change
his whole game. Change his game up.
That's it. We'll start seeing who can really play now, and who, the fakers and the takers, as they used to say. Yeah. Let's see. Moving on here. Edward, Mr. Scott isn't here, but you guys will have some input on this. Edwards and the Timberwolves agreed to a 5-year deal, rookie max deal. What do you think after that tremendous boot they got in the playoffs? Reggie.
You talking about the sign-in trade for Grant Williams?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the Mavericks knew they needed to do something.
No. We're talking about the Timberwolves that they just gave
Anthony Edwards.
Big,
okay. I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about wrong deal.
Right.
Okay. So we're talking about the T-Wolves, despite the fact that you said that we don't have our one diehard supporter. So they bring back NAW, right? Nickeil Alexander-Walker on a 2-year deal. They brought back, they signed Troy Brown. They extended Anthony Edwards, and I think Shake Milton got, I believe, 2 years. So, how do I put this? Have you ever seen the meme where the person goes on supposedly a health journey, right? Where they've changed their diet, maybe exercising more, and the before picture and the after picture, the only difference is they stood further away from the camera and changed their outfit. I kind of feel like that's what we're talking about. I feel like maybe they changed up the filter. Maybe they lit themselves a little differently. But I mean, am I going nuts? Is not basically the same team? Is that just me?
Reggie, is that the same team?
I mean, it is. I feel like they don't really have a choice. So what are they going to do? What else are they going to do? I mean, there's no other. Who else are they going to sign and give them money to? You saw what they just did for Gobert. If you're going to do that for Gobert, you owe Gobert was $300 million. You owe him a ton of money. Are you kidding me? Of course they had to do this. When you see the haul that they gave away to get Rudy Gobert, and what else are they doing? James, I really look at this team. There are certain teams, guys, when you look around the market that just aren't free agency destinations. And Minnesota is one of those teams that's not a free agent destination. You got to sign guys. If you kind of have drafted a guy, Garrett, got him to live in the state, got him to kind of stay there, stay put, enjoy things, and see some good things about the state, you want to pay whatever it takes to keep him there. You don't want him to go into places and visit places like Miami or LA and have them rob them of another player because of their city. So I think that Minnesota is a team that had to do this. Congratulations for them being able to do it, because a lot of times these players will ask out. It's becoming a congratulations if you can sign a guy that max player these days without him asking to be traded. So
it was a rookie max deal anyway, but
I think it's up to 260. That's not too bad for it's not too bad for the kid.
No, I mean, like you say, consider what they gave away for Rudy Gobert, and how'd that work out for you?
I mean, I assume what they're going to try to do is sort of the San Antonio Spurs thing, right? Where you find 2 legit superstars, maybe 3 legit superstars via the draft, and then you sprinkle in some mid-price free agents who know their roles. I guess what they're hoping to do. I wish them luck.
Oh,
Yeah,
well,
same.
that kind of sounds like another team that we're going to talk about here, Bill. The Mavs decided that they were going to give Flat Earth 3 years, $126 million. And it seems like, this was to kind of, I guess, tone down. Bill, it's like you were talking about, get 2 superstars and see if you can sandwich, what's in between. But Bill, had the Mavs sacrificed their team to get a named player signed?
Well, I guess it depends on which version of this gentleman, who I call the Magellan hater, right? I'm not, because of course that's the first person to circumnavigate the globe. So, or I guess in this case, circumnavigate the disc. But the things that I think of, first of all, I'm going to start with their backcourt. It's a fascinating island of interestingly fit toys. So here's what I guess will be their backcourt rotation. It will consist, I'm assuming, of the aforementioned Mr. Kyrie Irving, with guys like Jaden Hardy and Tim Hardaway Jr., Frank Ntilikina. I guess they've also got Reggie Bullock now, right? Reggie Bullock, Seth, right? Seth Curry, the other Curry brother, Seth Curry.
Yeah.
Do you consider Luka a point forward, I guess? So your backcourt is some talented but sort of underdeveloped in parts of their game wing types, a bunch of 6'1" to 6'2". 6'1" to 6'2" types, like the aforementioned Mr. Curry, Mr. Irvin. I really like Tim Hardaway Jr., apparently more than they like Tim Hardaway Jr., but I guess we'll see what happens with that. I feel like bringing in Reggie Bullock will actually hurt Tim Hardaway Jr. because they're kind of not the same guy, but they're similar enough that you probably wouldn't have them on the floor at the same time, I guess. And then they're big guys, and they have guys who have a certain amount of size. I mean, Markieff Morris, the other Morris twin, Christian Wood, Maxi Kleber, Bertans, right? Davis Bertans, JaVale McGee, who is a guy who knows his role. And then there are other scorers in quotes, and that's going to be fascinating to me. I mean, obviously Kyrie can score, and obviously we talk about Luka, who can do whatever he wants to do to some extent. I'm a little worried about their third option, which at one point I thought might even be the aforementioned Mr. Tim Hardaway Jr., but I guess they don't like him as a 3rd/4th option that much because, once again, Reggie Bullock. So that means Reggie Bullock maybe becomes a 3rd/4th option, maybe 3rd. That's my only question is, and I guess I'll have to kind of fight it out to figure out who's coming off the bench, who's your 3rd and 4th scoring option. And they've got some big guys. Well, none of them really scare you. I forgot one of them. Dwight Powell's the one. None of them really scare you offensively, obviously, and they don't need to. I mean, you've got your scoring's coming from the guards and the guard forwards, or whatever you want to call them, point forwards, and wing. They use the term wing nowadays. So those guys are going to be coming up with the scoring. I also still worry about their defense. Is that just me? I mean,
not just you.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's make it. Okay, cool.
Well, Reggie, what's your thoughts? When you said defense, you perked right up there. It's like,
yeah, because it's like we look at the players, and this is not a knock on what the Mavs did. I feel like the Mavs have done okay during the free agent season. They had to stock the cover with something. So you feel that role. You got a bunch of guys. What do you say?
I think you got a little feedback there. Is it just me?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Good to go?
Yep,
Okay.
you're good.
I feel like who is going to play defense on this team? It's like I had that question at the end of the year, and I have the same question now. I don't know who's going to play defense here. Like that, these are a bunch of great guys. I'm glad they were able to keep their draft pick. That was pretty because they almost lost that.
Yeah.
But I think teams can still put 115 on these guys, like on average. So they got to score 120 points just to stay in games. So I don't know.
Of course, we're talking about flat Earth and him re-signing with the Mavericks. What did you think about that? It still comes out to about $42 million a year. That ain't bad. I mean,
not bad at all.
126 mil, 3 years. Yeah, and you the mathematician. What do you think, Demetrius?
So you guys can hear me, right? Because I want to make sure this gets heard. It is well known for Reggie, but anyone who's watched the Sports Crib, it's well known how I feel about. I don't even want to know his middle name, Bill. That guy, right? We know. So here's the thing, and I don't want to be, I don't care. I'm gonna be that anyway. Somebody, I want to give it to Dr. Maya Angelou, but somebody else could have said it. When somebody shows you who they are, believe them, right? In my world, these are called data points, right? We know what this dude is, right? So, but I get it. In that league, talent is hard to get, and it's hard to keep, right? So there's always that team, that coach, that GM, that guy who says, we got the culture, though. He'll be great here. He'll love it here. Well, ask the people in Boston and Brooklyn how that worked out. He's a cancer, guys. I don't know the man. I'm not speaking on him as a human being because I don't know him. I don't think a team will ever win a title with him again. And I'm going to say win. Come close. In the Western Conference in 2024? Absolutely not. I don't know where you guys put him. They'll make the playoffs. Yes. But they've got two really talented, ball-dominant players. I don't know what the scheme's going to be. I'm pretty sure I heard Reggie say the most important thing. Who plays defense? Who plays defense on that team, Bill? Help me out, right? So if the name of the game now in 2024 is going to be first to 150, like old Denver Nuggets shorts basketball, right? Okay. I guess that works, but I think that the organization says in this league it's so hard to get it because the talent is intoxicating. Oh my God, is this young man talented at playing basketball? He will find some absurd social cause or something about barbershops in Dallas. He will make up something, right? He'll start liking hate movies, or there will be a reason, a thing for him to be a distraction off the court. And we all know it's going to happen. It's just a matter of when. And I think Boston got almost a full year of, I love you guys, and if you'll have me back, right? I think Brooklyn got maybe a year. So maybe this year things go okay. Set that aside. They're not talented enough to win the West, so none of this really matters. I just wasted you guys' time, probably. You know how I feel about him. I don't think he's a good teammate. I don't know him, but he's probably not a good person. He's not good for a winning basketball team. End of diatribe.
And I don't really know if he's good for the state of Texas, but
we'll find out.
That's an open carry state,
right?
You already had a target. I mean,
that'll be his next thing. He'll be protesting gun laws in the state of Texas, and he'll sit down at a press conference after they lose by 18 to the Pistons or somebody, and he'll make it about that.
Demetrius, the reports say that the Clippers, the 76ers, and the Celtics are all aiming for Dame. What do you think happens if Dame doesn't get to Miami? Do you think any of these teams are a fit?
Oh, sure. Philly can be a fit. First of all, another shout out to Reggie. Last week he said somebody's got to file. Looks like Dame and his people went down to the courthouse sometime late last week and signed those papers, right? But Philly would be a fit. It's just a matter of what do you give up. I've gone on record saying I really like Tyrese Maxey. If I'm Portland, you're not making his deal unless Tyrese Maxey is in it. Tobias Harris is cool, but he comes with like a $32 million price tag. Do you want to cripple your cap? So if you're Portland, what are you doing? Shaden Sharp and Scoot Henderson in back-to-back drafts suggest you're rebuilding. It's okay to own that. Now that Dame's done the filing, you get to look like the jilted one and take a bunch of draft picks, whatever you need. To answer your question, Philly could be a fit. If you're telling me I get to roll out Embiid and Dame and Tobias, because I don't know that you can unload Tobias's contract. On record, Tobias is a really good player. I like him. I don't know how you – and you might have to make a Dame deal work. Philly would be a good fit. They're close enough. He would put them right in – because they're in the East, not the West. So he puts them right there. Miami is still the place to me. Miami's sitting back in the cut, as they say. I think Miami's just sitting back in the cut, waiting for all the nonsense to die down. And then they'll make it. But Philly would work, to answer your question.
What do you think, Reg?
Well, shout out to Dame for doing what's best for the kids and deciding, hey, this is time to give it up. You know, it's hard to be the first one to go in and make that choice. But shout out to Dame for finally, after all these years, deciding he might want to compete for a playoff somewhere. And the Miami fit just seems like a glove fit, but they just, Tyler Hero going to get that done for you? It's rough. It's rough for what Miami has to offer for him. So I could see Portland not being too excited to go for that deal. But the 76ers depend on what happens with Harden. Because currently Harden's still there, and I'm not sure where he's going to be traded to. The Clippers is interesting. Because Dame's the kind of player that I feel like is going to fit in a lot of places because of his skill set fits in a lot of places. A lot of people like that skill set. So I think he'll fit in at quite a few spots. But Miami's just where I personally want him to go. I feel like he fits so perfectly there in Miami that that's my personal preference. But if he was to go to a team like the Celtics or go to a team like the Clippers, these three teams listed here, I think that are kind of a similar fit, in my opinion. The Clippers depend on Kawhi staying healthy, Kawhi and Paul George staying healthy, and seeing what you guys should put together a team there. But I'm going to take, if I had to choose between these three teams, I guess I would take the 76ers with no James Harden there. I got to see what they get back for James. Would they get back for him and to see exactly what that fit would be.
Yo, remember we talked last week what happens if Harden has to stay in Philly? So keep that in mind also. Bill, what's your thoughts?
It's hard to disagree with what's been said because supposedly his preference is the Miami Heat. That's what the word on the street is, that of the teams that were mentioned. Supposedly he's not wild about the Celtics, though that doesn't mean they're out of the running. Even some sort of outside teams mentioned, like the Brooklyn Nets and the aforementioned Minnesota Timberwolves. So I think that's, as was mentioned earlier, they're not really a free agent destination. But what would be more fascinatingly perverse than to leave, Portland to go to Minnesota? Oh, it would be clear that he's a truly different kind of cat if that's the move he makes. I don't think that's what's going to happen, but it'd be kind of weirdly hilarious. Who else was mentioned? Even now, it should be mentioned that New York Knicks fans are certifiably insane and out of touch reality. But they have made it very clear they would like to see Dame Lillard play in, of course, the most famous, celebrated basketball arena in the history of the planet Earth, or whatever they call that place. It's fascinating to me, all the things that the pretzels I've seen people turn themselves into trying to make things work. I'm trying to remember what the Brooklyn salary structure looks like. As memory serves me, they're sort of in the middle of the pack in terms of their payroll situation. They have a lot of money tied up in Ben Simmons. I don't know how to feel about that if I'm that team, but
Yes, you do.
Well, I do.
We all know exactly how to feel.
Not
about
great.
Right.
Not great.
Right. Yeah.
You've been talking about Tobias all night, Demetrius. Who's going to take Ben Simmons' contract?
I think Bill's about to tell us what to do with Ben Simmons, right?
Well, I mean, in an ideal world, it'd be a three-way, right? Where somebody steps up and says, okay, we'll take Ben Simmons, but here's what you got to do for us, right? Right? I mean, that's how it has to happen. A team that's willing to take Ben Simmons. I don't know. The Spurs have a lot of money, right? They wouldn't spend it on Ben Simmons, obviously, but you'd have to do something for them. What do the Spurs really want? Wish Dom were here. Because you have to talk them into taking $37,893,408 next year,
Right.
and then it goes up to $40,338,114 a year after that. But here's the good news: zero in 2025-26, kids.
Bill, you got to do your classic Ben Simmons line. He can't do the one thing you should be good at in basketball.
So my problem with Ben Simmons from the first time people told me I had to watch him, and I went and watched him, is, okay, wow, he's tall, he's versatile, he can defend 3, maybe even 4 positions. And then I noticed that not only did he not great at shooting, he didn't like shooting. Like, he seemed to have a bit of an aversion to it.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, well, that's probably going to be a problem. And people assured me it would get better. I was assured by all my basketball savant friends, oh, yeah. Oh, that's because he's such an unselfish player. Once it's made clear to him that they need him to score more, trust me, he will. I was like, okay, all right, bet. So it should be mentioned that his actual game in terms of being able to score, despite being very large, does he have a post-up game? I'm just checking. Does he have a post-up game, kids? Does he? Because if so, I missed it. Does he? I didn't see that yet. If he has a post-up game, I've missed it. How about his jumper? How do you guys feel about his jumper? Anyone like that jumper? If I feel it,
I've never seen his jumper.
Okay, so
what jumper? Question about whether this thing exists, right?
So, despite the fact that he's at least 6'9" and change, close to 6'10", and he doesn't seem to really have a post-up game, which is odd. And then to add to that, he hasn't developed a jumper. And then to add to that, I've seen him, like at least a half hook, a runner in the lane. I mean, help me out here. What's the thing that you trust in his offensive arsenal? What's his go-to, kids? What's his go-to? Oh, can you not hear me?
The sound. No, we can hear you very well now. The sound made a dramatic shift in volume midway through. No, you're right. Everything you said was right. It's just really right now.
So we're talking about a tall man who's versatile, can defend, whatever, but hasn't developed a post-up game for reasons that no one's explained to me.
Doesn't have it. How long do we wait? How long do we wait, Bill?
Well, he's 26. I can't remember. Is he 26? What is he now? Mid-20s, 25, 26?
Yeah, it doesn't matter to me. He's not going to get better. I don't dislike him like I dislike Kyrie. But at this point, if he was going to get better, he would be better, right?
Well, he has to play to get better. And he's not.
He's got to shoot, and he's not playing. He's got his outfit game is awesome. His sunglass game is on point.
Zion game, you see that outfit, that wardrobe game, incredible.
His wardrobe game is great. I don't want him anywhere near my roster, and it really is right. The truth is, any conversation you have about Ben Simmons now starts with a number, and that's what's sad. Because he's a pretty talented player. He can't shoot well. He can do a lot of really nice things on the basketball court. But when it's not commensurate with that number, every conversation about Ben Simmons starts with a really large number. And it's almost unfair, but it's also earned. So, because I'm still waiting for the jump shot like Bill.
Reggie, Jaylen Brown and the Celtics are currently negotiating an extension. Is it the right move for the Celtics to keep Brown and Tatum duo together?
I think it's hard not to when you look around, because you have to think about, if you're going to decide not to sign a guy, you got to think about what you're going to replace that guy with. If you just decide that you're just going to let that guy walk out of here. And if you guys we just spent how much time talking about Kyrie,
Right.
and him being re-signed, you see what the premium is on talent in this league. You don't let talent walk out the door. I don't see any. But when people are talking about breaking this Jason Tatum Brown situation up, I was thinking, like, just in today's NBA, it's just not something that you see unless somebody's a toxic. You got the Bills, even with the Ben Simmons, they didn't want to trade him. Look how long the Philly let him sit around for a long time before they finally got off that. And it just shows you what people will do for certain talent. And I don't see any world where Boston was just going to let Jaylen Brown just walk out and get what? I mean, if people are to floating the Dame situation, and maybe there would be a trade there, a Jaylen Brown for a Dame type situation. I like those trades that bring you back a person like Jaylen Brown. But if you look around the NBA, they're not growing on trees. And when you got guys like Dylan Brooks getting $80 million,
I know, right?
come on, man. I'm not letting Jaylen Brown go nowhere. No, absolutely not. He's not leaving. He's not leaving. Like, he's gonna have to request it. We're still gonna try to talk him out of it. I'm not letting him go until I get some kind of offer sheet or something on the table that says I can replace him.
Yeah, what do you think? Jaylen Brown, Dame, and a little package there. I mean, what's your thoughts on that Brown Tatum duo? Hasn't worked for him in the last couple of years.
Well, as was just mentioned, this is a pretty darn good roster. Could they still afford to shake it up a little? In my opinion, the answer to that is yes. I would still try to see if I could make some other things happen. It's a little difficult now to do anything too dramatic. They obviously just recently made a move. Probably not, a move that's going to make a huge move in the needle. But there's some nice pieces on this team. I mean, is there a market out there for Malcolm Brogdon? Probably, right? Maybe.
Somebody will take him for sure.
Yep.
So I think maybe that's another move that you could make. I think there's people who would be interested in bringing him in.
Well, he was mentioned until he didn't he have to have surgery on his forearm or something? Because he was mentioned in trade.
Brogdon?
Yeah, is his forearm or something that he's having
Yeah,
surgery?
yeah. He was going to the Clippers, but there was a medical
Right.
issue. Right?
Right.
Clippers, I think they had a deal in place with the Clippers, and then it was a medical, and I think
Right.
it was his arm. Yeah, that's
Right.
what it was.
Right. But if you can get him medically cleared, I mean, I don't think his arm was removed. So assuming that, you could at some point get him medically cleared, there'll be a marker for Malcolm Brogdon. I still think, this is going to sound somewhat silly, but if you're the Milwaukee Bucks or something like that, and combo guards, I know, it's been tried before, whatever. I still feel like as maybe the leader of a second unit, or my real sort of issue with the Bucks, a team that I like more than I probably should, has always been their sort of second unit not being trustworthy at times, right? That, okay, I feel pretty good about 1 through 6, 7 through 12. I don't feel so right about. So that's a team that maybe might be willing. I don't know. That Malcolm Brogdon is a piece that you could still do something with. So if they wanted to add, maybe another 3-and-D or maybe a dynamic, like a player that maybe doesn't have a truly all-around game but can just beat people off the dribble anytime he wants to. And those guys still have value, like guys who basically just beat people, right? Who can just get past anybody. There's still value for that because at some point it makes people react. Hey, that guy's blowing past people. I should probably rotate over there. And now if you've got good smart passing, which they do, they're a team of mostly good smart passing players for the most part. Now you've got opportunities for easy buckets. So, there's a couple more moves they can make, maybe, but that's a pretty well constructed team. And as was just pointed out so accurately by Reggie, who would you move other than I just mentioned Malcolm Brogdon? Who would you move And then equally as important, who do you think you're getting back?
Demetrius.
So Reggie covered the obvious. To me, it is hard to get talent in this league. You have two of, I'm going to be generous and say top 25. Tatum's a top 10. Jaylen
Yep.
Brown might be one of the top 25 players in this league. You've got two of them. You do all the things. Like Reggie said, you put on the best dress, you cook him dinner, you put on some Thelonious Monk or whatever kind of music he likes, right? You woo it. You court it. You old school court it. You do whatever you got to do to get this guy to stay. I think Boston is doing everything right. I think Kristaps Porzingis will be a fit. I think you're going to get a really good version of Porzingis.
Well, I'm going to ask you about that next.
Okay, sorry. Yep. And then I think Bill covered what the next step should be. I've heard Brogdon's name mentioned with Norman Powell. I've heard Mike Conley's name come out of some people's mouths, and OG Anunoby up in Toronto. They can get something for Brogdon. They just got to get him medically cleared. Then you add the right piece. They're thin at guard, though. After Brogdon and Derek White, they're thin, right? So you need some versatility. But I think the move is keep the two pieces. The pillars have to stay together, and what you get around them is the key. And so I think if I'm them, and I got this wrong, guys. Last 5 years, they've been to 3 conferences and a league final.
Yeah,
If I'm not mistaken. Are our expectations a bit high here to say, oh, it's not working? And they've been to like 2 or 3 conference finals and a league final. It is working. They just need a piece to get over the hump. So I don't believe it's not working. And I don't believe you let 2 of the best 25 players, both of them under 25, 26 years old. No, like Reggie said, he's not getting out. He's not going anywhere. We throw everything, whatever it takes. And so I don't see Jaylen Brown going anywhere. I think there's a Brogdon move on the horizon. And they might do something else, because what you do is you keep those guys together and you add around them. That's what the smart organization would do.
As I said, I'm going to ask you, I'm going to include the Porzingis in this because the Grizzlies got Marcus Smart in a 3-team trade that sent Porzingis to Boston. How surprised were you, or not surprised, that the Celtics traded Marcus, and how do you see Porzingis as a fit? Didn't they lose Grant Williams here recently?
Yep.
Yeah, right. The Reggie Bullock deal,
Is that for me?
Yeah.
Stretch the floor. That's what Porzingis does. He creates space on the floor. And we just said they have 2 of the best 25 wings in the league, 2 of the best 25 players, 2 of the top 15 wings. And you got a true stretch 4 that opens up the floor now. And you got distribution in a healthy Brogdon or whoever they trade for. If they get Conley, even though he's 35, Mike Conley's still a really, really good point guard in this league. That would be a nice fit. So Marcus Smart, I don't think this trade was getting rid of Smart. I think this trade was getting Porzingis, and you have to give something to get something sometimes. Yep. And he did the whole, they didn't respect me by telling me. They always say the same stupid thing. I get that it's a business, but I'm mad they didn't tell me. Well, guess what? Those 2 things can't coexist. If you get that it's a business, they didn't have the luxury of forewarning you. So I think Marcus Smart, I don't think they didn't like him. I think Marcus Smart is what it took to get Porzingis. And they said, if we can get Porzingis, this is how he fits with our 2 superstars. Let's go get him. And it took Marcus Smart to get him. So I think Porzingis will stretch the floor. My simple answer to how does he help? He opens up the floor for the 2 guys we've been talking about. That's what you need. Grant Williams didn't open the floor. He probably clogged it up more than anything else. He certainly didn't open it. Porzingis, you have to match up differently. You have to play a different kind of defense when a healthy Porzingis is on the floor. And that's going to make Brown and Tatum better.
You agree with that, Reggie? I thought I saw the old man out there hitting some corner threes almost on a regular basis.
Talking about Al?
Yeah. No, Al's not there.
Horford? Is that what you're talking about?
Horford, he hit a few threes.
Horford can stretch the floor.
Yeah.
But he is old.
he is old.
You get social security checks, huh? What you see?
double dipping. He double dipping.
I like the what worries me, guys, about Kristaps, and I'm consistent about this across the board. I always have a little trepidation giving people contracts that are having the best year of their career, because it seems like at some point you're going to regress to the mean at some point. Like if you look at Kristaps, he played 65 games, which is the third most games he's played in his entire career. Quietly averaged 23, guys, was impressive. Quietly averaged 23, but that average 23 was in a Washington with what? Kyle Kuzma. I think Bradley Beal was injured there.
Yeah.
So I do like the Kristaps addition, but I'm just hesitant or nervous for his, like, does he stay healthy? Will they definitely stretch the floor? For sure. Because he's a 7-footer. You can, it's not, you can't, trading for 7-footer, I don't think it's gonna make too many people sad on any team when you're able to do so, especially one with a skill set like Porzingis has. It's interesting, guys, to see where how much the Marcus Smart situation is detrimental to them from just a team standpoint. So when I look at guys like Marcus Smart, he reminds me of a guy like a Draymond Green on the Warriors, where you're a guy that's on that team and you can't exactly quantify their impact on that team from a statistical standpoint. Like, you look at their stats, you're like, what is going on here? Like, I can't believe this guy got this money. But then you have a situation where, like Draymond had when he got kicked out of that finals and LeBron and them came back and won it, you think, well, if Draymond had stayed there, who knows how that would have turned out. And I'm still the same similar way with Marcus Smart here. Marcus Smart is a very great defensive player. He seemed to be all in on that team, a central part of that team, a leader on that team. And I think it's what the Grizzlies need. They're getting a good player. They're getting a leader there to come to the Grizzlies and kind of get them together and shore up their defense. But it's interesting to see what that impact will be. I think you make the trade for Porzingis anyway. I mean, averaging 23 games, 7-footer. How do you not make that trade? But I'm interested to see what them losing Marcus Smart is really kind of look like in other areas outside of stats.
Yeah.
Bill.
We're talking about which player now?
We're talking about Marcus Smart traded to the Grizzlies for Porzingis in that 3-way trade, and whether or not Porzingis feels that need, and how did Marcus Smart, feel? Was he kind of a sucker punch being sent to the Grizzlies?
Well, I mean, Jordan Poole got sucker punched. Like, that's sucker punch. That's
Jordan.
Let's
Necessary. Wow.
Let's miss the news story. He just got traded. So that happens to a lot of people. That's not man bites dog. That's dog bites man. So no biggie there. Kristaps was mentioned. Everyone's broken down the basketball of it. He's a good addition. He makes sense, and he's still fairly young. I think 28 or something. I mean, people forget, despite the fact it feels like he's been in the league a very long time. He's still pretty young. His health has really been the only real bugaboo, which is a significant bugaboo. But if he stays healthy, it's kind of a bargain. I mean, I feel funny saying that because he's getting paid. But if you looked at what people make in the NBA, he's kind of a bargain. It sounds very strange to say that, but it's actually factually true based on we just talked about somebody's giving Grant Williams $53.4 million. Yes? Isn't that what he's getting over the length of that contract? So, and he's not even really a starter. You know what I mean? Like, that's a valuable reserve player. That's what they pay valuable reserves in the NBA nowadays. So Kristaps is a straight up starter with, despite his age, I think still a little bit of upside left. So I'm a fan of the fit. And frankly, a team like the Lakers could have used Kristaps Porzingis, if we're telling truths here, if that's what we're doing.
He's not old enough to play for the Lakers.
Oh, yeah, good point. Next landing spot, yeah.
See, now there you guys go. Okay.
I'm sorry. That's my bad. That's my bad. I couldn't pass that one up.
I'm just going to throw this at Bill because I was going to throw this at somebody else, but I want to let Bill get his Laker diatribe off because I'm getting ready to ask you. Bill, now we saw that the Lakers have added Vincent, They re-signed Reeves and what's the dude's our come on, Bill, help me there.
Hachimura.
Yeah,
Hachimura.
Rui. Yeah.
Right, right.
But surprisingly, they kept D'Angelo Russell. Uh, Bill, what did you think of the Lakers off-season moves?
I'm not too surprised by the keeping of D'Angelo Russell. He's matured as a person and as a player, and frankly, they have a lot of maturity, obviously, on the team already. But as has been alluded to recently, but Hillbilly Kobe was a guy that I figured they would probably keep as well, which is one of Austin Reeves' many nicknames. But he's a fun player, and he's another guy. I think the arrow, unlike much of the rest of the team, the arrow is pointed upwards on Austin Reeves. He should conceivably continue to get better for another couple years, but you cannot say that about a lot of players that the Lakers have. So I don't dislike any of the moves. I really like Hachimura coming out of college. So I feel like he's a good fit. And once again, he's less than 30. Woohoo! So any player that they bring onto the team that is like only recently could rent a car without someone co-signing is someone I'm excited about them bringing onto the team. So while there's no big splashy moves, there's no, like I said, Kristaps Porzingis. There's nobody who, front of the headlines kinds of players have been part of this offseason. My complaint was their bench, and they've added a little bit. I'd like to see them continue, frankly, if they could, to add a little bit more bench versatility and depth. But I mean, the West is still kind of out of their reach, but it's better. I mean, I say that despite the fact what they did last year, which still I can't believe happened. But I kind of feel like it was kind of lightning in a bottle. I don't think that's repeatable, but they did some of the smart things that I thought they should do. I think they should still try, if at all possible, to add a little more. Hey, somebody willing to part with Tim Hardaway Jr.? I mean, there's got to be maybe one or two more moves that could be made. I hope.
What do you think, Demetrius?
I'm gonna try and be cool. It's hard for me to generate excitement. I'm gonna be honest. Denver, Phoenix, whatever you guys want to say, Golden State, and honestly Sacramento. So I can't get hype about a 5 seed. Sorry, not an old 5. Here's the reality. Their best players are a year older than they were last year. That cannot be. I don't need a degree to tell you guys that. I think they might be the 5th best team. I didn't buy last year. It was fluke. It was lightning in the bottle. It was a whole bunch of things. And I'm not an anti-LeBron guy. I've grown to be a fan of LeBron. Once he stopped tormenting the Pistons, I learned to like the guy. They're a year older, and Denver's not a year older. Sacramento's not a year. I mean, in theory they are. Those are two talented young teams. Golden State's taking another kick at the can, and I still think Kevin Durant is really good at basketball. And so is Bradley Beal and Devin Booker. I like those 4 teams much more than the Lakers. I can't give a 5 seed. I got to give my energy to my Pistons just trying to get into the play-in game. I can't be wasting my energy on a 5 seed in the West. 5 seed in the West just means you going home early. I don't. Reggie will tell me if I'm wrong. I think Bill's being nice tonight. We got nice Bill tonight. I think Reggie's gonna tell me if I'm wrong.
For one of the D'Angelo, let's start with the D'Angelo Russell situation. The guy did average 18 and he played 71 games. I mean, what do y'all expect? Dylan Brooks just got $20 million a year. D'Angelo Russell averaged 18 points and played 71 games. You're not gonna, if you're looking around and hoping to just replace that randomly on trees, it's not gonna be super easy for you in the NBA to do that. There's guys being paid way more. He's making under $20 million a year. There's guys being paid way more for that kind of production. So D'Angelo Russell, I'm not gonna knock that. Another thing too with the Lakers is I doubted them last year, and they made it to the Western Conference Finals. So before I anoint any of these other teams, you got to beat this team. You get to the Western Conference Finals before I put you there. I'm not going to mentally put you there. You got to beat these guys. These old men came out and running people off the floor. So it's kind of like you got to go beat this team before I can doubt that. Before I can doubt that team,
Love it.
and I do think when you look at it, guys, on paper, it's not super exciting. I mean, they kind of stayed together, which is kind of what they had to do. I think their offseason is actually pretty good, to be honest with you, because they were able to keep. I think Reeves went for less money than he probably could have got someplace else. I'm not sure. Reeves is making what, $14 million a year or somewhere like that. I think that's a bargain for them.
He could easily
maybe
got
gave them
60 or
hometown discount
70.
or something. I'm not sure exactly what's going on there, but I think just keeping the team together when you made it to the Western Conference Finals is an achievement, because that's what you made it. You made it. There's only 2 teams there. So when you look at all the payrolls for these other teams, all the stars on these other teams, they were not present. You know what I mean? And look at Dallas. Dallas is watching them from the house. I think the entire playoffs, right? They're a more exciting younger team. They watched that whole thing. They caught the whole series. So it's kind of like I know why people would doubt the Lakers, because at some point I think too and this is something what MJ had, is people get success fatigue. You know, and when a person's been successful for so long, it's kind of like you start to kind of write them off a bit. And I feel like this is something that people did with Kareem, who I think is one of the top 2-3 players that's ever played the game. He's so successful that people go back and look at his stats. They start when this guy's in high school and they go all the way through his career. So I think at some point you start to casually write it off, you know, like, and they're casually giving you 30. I think LeBron averaged like 28 last year, a casual 28. And I don't understand. I don't understand how they could do much better. They can only go to the finals, right?
It's easy to score 28 points in an NBA game. Anybody could do it.
So I think that if health stays with them, and we're all holding breath every time Anthony Davis hits the floor. So if you can get over that hump right there, you know, Anthony Davis actually playing, can this guy give me 60 games in a playoff run? Okay, then I feel like we have something going. If I can get these guys, I don't think they're going to play 60 games, by the way, guys. I think maybe LeBron and AD get through 50-something games and maybe a playoff run. But I'll take that. And I think they have a real shot once they get there. You know, the AARP guys, they got a shot. They're schooling these young kids, man. These young whippersnappers at home watching them play.
Team AARP, I love it.
Yeah, man.
Reggie, since you mentioned him, I might as well bring it up because Dylan Brooks, as you say, he got paid.
Can't believe it.
A lot of people thought he'd be playing in China next year. You know, and he got Van Fleet. Didn't he go there?
130 for him. They're just giving it away down there. Yeah.
Reggie, isn't that a lot of money for the Rockets to go home? You know, sir.
Sometimes I have to look at teams and I have to think about what I would think if I saw that number for my team. So if you told me, hey, so my friends call me and say, Reg, we just signed 2 guys. We signed Van Fleet and Dylan Brooks. We're paying them $210 million. I'd be like, get the hell out of here. Like, are you kidding me? Like, is that the best we could do? Is that what we get down here? We get Van Fleet and Dylan Brooks for $210 million when you look at what other teams are using $200 million for. So it's kind of like, it's hard for me to be excited for them. Like, and I think the Rockets are a young and upcoming team. I kind of like what they're building there as a young and upcoming team. They're years away, but I think maybe because of that, we'll see if they take leaps this year. But I don't know if I look and say Dylan Brooks said almost $100 million is the answer. Like, it seems strange to me. It seems strange. Like, he's a good defensive guy, but is he like, I mean, Memphis just got rid of him, didn't they? Memphis could have signed the guy.
Absolutely.
And they chose not
As
to.
I said, we thought he'd be playing in China next year.
Right.
I think Memphis's GM was asked a few weeks ago about the chances of Dylan Brooks coming back to Memphis, and his exact words were, Dylan Brooks will not be here under any circumstances.
So you see that last part, guys?
That's what he said.
Under any circumstance.
Under any circumstance.
He didn't have to say that part.
He did not. He said that for a reason.
He chose to
said
say
that.
that part.
Let alone 80
million over 4 years.
Yeah.
So
80 million over 4.
It's a nice world where, and I'm not going to go on a Dylan Brooks thing. I'm not a Dylan Brooks guy. It's all good. That's what the GM who had him, right? That's what the guy. So how does that work in our world? If we lose our job, we need a reference.
Yeah.
His old boss went on the mic, put it on wax under any circumstances, and he's still cashing a check for $80 million. I don't know what to say about it. I
Shout out
got
to Van
nothing.
Fleet, though. You know, Van
Right?
Fleet. Shout
Yeah,
out to
yeah.
him.
No, I like
know,
Fred.
I'm a Van Fleet fan.
Me too.
I'll
I'm a
take
Fred
that.
guy. Yeah. Yep.
Bill, bring out your
So,
comment.
here's the good news. They will break the 35 win mark next year, kids.
Man,
Dylan
only
Brooks.
$250 million to get there. Right?
That's all it took.
Yes. So,
200 plus.
So, the current depth chart, right, at point guard is Fred VanVleet, backed up by Kevin Porter Jr. Not Michael Porter Jr. Just make sure.
Right.
Kevin Porter Jr.
Different guy.
So, with Amen Thompson, cool name, also in the mix, and DJ Augustin. Jalen Green, Cam Whitmore, and Josh Christopher at the other guard spot, with, of course, the legendary Dylan Brooks, who we just discussed, at small forward with the aforementioned Amen Thompson, which is an awesome name. Jashawn Tate is in the mix there, and Cam Whitmore, and Jeff Green. Remember Jeff Green? Apparently still in the league. And then at power forward, you got Jabari Smith Jr. With Tari Eason backing him up, the aforementioned Mr. Jashawn Tate. And Frank, remember Frank the Tank? Frank Kaminsky is in the still in the league also.
Hey.
Are we sure they're getting 35 wins, Bill?
I mean, that's at least 37, 38 right there. Boy.
I think
it off, man.
I thought it was at least 30. I feel like 36 was about the number, but yeah, we're in the right ballpark. And then
a couple shekels I'll put on that one.
and then at center, of course, speaking of legends, right? We have Alperon Sengun with Jack Landale. Boban, of course, in the mix there. And then Kaminsky also helps out a little bit. So, you say to yourself, their wings are interesting, but not scary. They have a very nice, interesting, smallish point guard rotation. Nobody amongst the shooting guards or small forwards that really scares you as a defensive game planner. You don't think, oh man, how do we stop Amen Thompson? How do we hold down Cam Whitmore? Oh, Jalen Green might kill us tonight. And of course, Dylan Brooks, I guess, is the best of the group. And then, of course, Jabari Smith is an interesting player also. I mean,
when Bill's voice goes up really high like that, he doesn't believe the shit he's saying either. That's how you know. He doesn't even believe in himself. When his voice goes up like that, that's the tip-off.
A little Dylan Brooks doubt there, man. I don't blame the man. I don't blame him.
So, Rich Eisen would say that's a segment they call higher register. But last year, Jabari Smith, who was a young player, did give you 12.8, 7.2, and 1.3. And I think the arrow is still pointing up on him. Will he ever be a 20-point-a-night guy? Probably not. Could he get to be 16, 17? Maybe. So he might be eventually a 16-8 guy, maybe. So there's some players there. I'm not sure how it all fits together. It's not what I would have done, as I mentioned, as we all have mentioned. I wish him luck. But yes, 36 wins is what I've got him tentatively penciled in for.
Wow.
Reggie, let's talk a little college football here. We talked a little bit about when SDSU said that it wanted out of the Mountain West, and the Mountain West said, no, you can't go. But now SDU is saying they want to stay, and the Mountain West is saying, well, okay, you left the conference. If you want to get back, we want our $17 million. What's your thoughts on that, Reggie?
I'm going to get out of here after this, guys. I think that they're owed $17 million is what it sounds like to me. I mean, it's you owe me money. Yeah, because listen, we didn't know you decided you want to walk out of here on us. If you're gonna walk back in here, the door is open, but it's a fees, man. You gotta bring that money to the table like the rest of it. We're not giving you any discounts. Be lucky we're taking your $17 million back from you. But I don't think there's anything to see here. They pay the money and they stay around. Like I don't really see much of a difference. And we're talking about the Mountain West. This really isn't the SEC, guys, and we're really coming down to it.
What
here.
he means is, why are we talking about the Mountain West?
I see the Mountain. For an SEC guy, I will humble myself and discuss the Mountain West. You know what I mean? I feel like it's only right that they get some attention here, but I don't really think that the college football world is on fire, depending on what SDSU does. I'm not sure if we're.
As a Big Ten guy, I will not humble myself and talk about the Mountain West. Reggie covered it in the first 2 sentences. Pay them their money. Cut the check for $17 million and do whatever you're doing. But nothing to see here was the most accurate thing he said, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, we got a whole bunch of Big Ten stuff to talk about. Why are we wasting our time on the Mountain West? A whole lot of teams in the Big Ten, man.
All right, Reggie, give us your final thoughts, man, before you leave us.
Well, I had another final thought, man. Yeah, I'll be back week after next. So here's for one final thought is looking forward to this Wemby game, man. Let's get on. I've been watching some of this summer league. I want to see what the shot. I want to see him come out and go for 40, man. I want to see it. I need to see it happen. Let's start expectations off right. And also shout out to you, James, for including that Mountain West topic into the show today. I looked here and said, wow, you're not going to see that on many shows. So, James, shout out to you guys. Shout out for you doing the Lord's work here.
Summer League 40. Summer League 40. Damn Mountain West. Summer League 40.
Mountain West into a sentence here.
His final thoughts are Summer League 40. Amazing. Damn Mountain West.
You guys do remember where Kyrie?
You're talking. I'm assuming you're talking about legendary San Diego State University legendary player, and man with the weirdest laugh in the history of basketball. You're about Kawhi Leonard.
Kawhi Leonard.
I'll take Kawhi. You know what I mean? I'll take that.
Yeah, a lot of guys.
While we're at it, Marshall Faulk wasn't too shabby.
Yeah, I'll be back when y'all done talking about the Mountain
Man,
West.
on that note, guys, I will see y'all next time.
All right, good to see you, man.
All right, see you in a couple of weeks. Yeah.
All right, see you.
All right, then I'll tell you what. Let's see if you shy away from this one, because you guys just signed Henry Hasselbeck, the son of legendary Matt Hasselbeck, and you also had one of the top cornerbacks in the country, Justin Denson, also committed your school there, Demetrius. Talk to me. Come on.
West. I did not. You can see the excitement raised. I'm not sure if Matt Hasselbeck was a legend, but that's for another podcast. But Henry adds to a really good quarterback room at Michigan State. I think what today's game has done, and Mel Tucker has figured out, because we got two good kids, two good players. I gotta use the word kids because they're young. Noah Kim and Caden Hauser competing for our starting quarterback spot now. They're both pretty good. The reality is, the guy who doesn't win the job almost certainly enters the portal, because they're both like sophomores. Caden Hauser people are saying he'll play on Sundays. If he wins the job, Noah Kim's a really good player, and they will line up. He puts his name in the portal, he'll get deals, he'll get attention. So you need a Henry Hasselbeck to come in and keep the pipeline going. Because if you load up the room, somebody loses out, they're going somewhere else. You can't afford in the Big Ten Conference to not have those guys ready to go. So I like it. I think by all accounts he's a good kid out of Massachusetts. I think they're suburban Boston. Picked them over a couple of other schools, Boston College being one. His dad's alma mater. I think he played lacrosse at Maryland. Actually,
he didn't just
He was a really good committed to Maryland. Sorry, committed to play lacrosse at Maryland, and then the Michigan State football offer, as is the case, was just too good to turn down. So in terms of Justin Denson Jr., he's out of Rhode Island. He's out of Providence. He's the number one player in Rhode Island, whatever that means. I'm just kidding. That's a gratuitous shot at the state of Rhode Island. They're probably lovely, just small. Been there, had a great time. But we have struggled in the secondary. right? So we need to roll in D-backs, and he's a solid 3-star, a high 3-star, I think is the new term. You can put the word high in front of it. A high 3-star out of Providence. I know Mel Tucker's excited. I think Florida fans are not excited because they thought they had him, and I think Penn State was on his radar. So we're excited about both of those. Help where we need in the defensive backfield, and keep the quarterback. The quarterback has to be a pipeline. You got to have another guy. You should have 2 guys ready. When you're really good, you have 2 guys ready, even with the portal. And our starter the last 2 years just transferred to Auburn. So clearly Mel Tucker understands that. He had 2 guys ready. So it would be great if we can keep them both, but either Noah Kim or Caden Hauser. One of them is going to be our starter for probably the next 2 years, and the other will probably enter the portal. And I'm okay. That's the way business is done now. So I'm fine with it. I like what MSU's doing. We got a 4-star tackle we liking. I think Mel Tucker is doing at Michigan State the best he can do. 11 wins 2 years ago, fell back to 5-7 for a lot of reasons. Injury was a part of it. I think you use the portal, you recruit well. I think we'll be fine.
Okay, all right. I see Don has entered the premises. How you doing, Don?
Doing good. They just heard some thunder outside, so I go check.
Check on Ranger.
Well, no, they had some thunder outside.
Oh, okay.
A little late,
Nice.
early evening thunderstorm come through.
Gotcha.
Which we need rain.
Yeah.
God knows.
Oh, it's the time we start talking football in Texas now? Perfect. Perfect time to talk football in Texas.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, Don, before we start talking about football in Texas per se, I sent you. Did you see that video I sent you?
Oh yeah, I did, and I'm familiar with that whole thing. We do things a little bit different in Texas with our lawmaking.
Yeah. How does this go, Don, with this NIL and the Texas law? And
So the UIL, I'm sorry, UIL, that's Texas football. The NCAA has supposedly specific rules had to deal with the NIL. The way I understand it is that your average fans aren't really supposed to donate to the kid, the players, okay? But if you form a collective, you can. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And so the state of Texas said you can form these collectives, and so these collectives are giving money to the players. And as a result, let's say I give $10,000 to UT Sports Collective. Okay, if I do that, the school will reward me with tickets to the OU game. They'll throw in perks, because I gave that collective. The NCAA says you can't do that. You cannot reward your boosters for giving to the collective. And Texas passed a law saying yes, you can. So now we have a conflict between what's NCAA and Texas. So what happened is Texas A&M, two recruiting cycles ago, they blew their wad on the recruiting class. They had probably the top-ranked recruiting class of all time. Yep. And since then, they've had 30 kids transfer out. And the boosters are like, oh, we have no more money. And so now Texas, they learned from that. They learned from what the A&M did. And so, they form these collectives and are rewarding their they got the state legislature to pass a law saying that you can reward your boosters for contributing to the collective. And this is one of the few times that A&M and Texas fans got together because they want to keep Texas kids in Texas, keep them from going to places like Oklahoma, LSU, Alabama, Arkansas, what have you. So that's what that's all about. I don't know if the feds are going to get involved in it. Probably, because the feds get involved in shit they should get involved in, but that's just my take on that.
Don,
yes, to answer your question that hasn't been asked yet, yes, I do give to collective.
Of course you do.
But I don't give 10,000.
I've been at your house, Don. You could give 10,000 if you wanted to.
don't know about that.
Hey. Oh. Well, I guess I have to visit Don next. The compound.
Yes, sir.
Oh man. Okay. So Bill, I got another question for you pertaining to the Big Ten, because we know how Ohio State turns out certain positions, especially wide receiver, and
Shout out to Brian Hartline, the best wide receiver coach in college football.
Well, anyway, after missing out on defensive end Marcus Lightfoot, who committed to Miami, Bill, which one of these defensive ends should Ohio State next target? Dylan Stewart, Edric Houston, Booker Pickett Jr., Dominic McKinley, or Larry A. Johnson?
That's a great
What's
question.
they stand for, Bill?
That's a great question because there's a fair number of decent players on that list. In fact, two of them I particularly like, Mr. Houston, and I think you mentioned Pickett Jr. What was the other one you
Yes.
mentioned?
Yes.
Those are two really good football players. And I get the Ranger seal of approval.
Rangers.
Nice. I feel particularly good about my options now. But of that list, and I think they're all good players, and two particularly I like, I'm going to go with Houston amongst them. Not just because of the super cool name, but also I think that he'll be developed. He's the one who's best set up to develop in their system. They have a way of developing defensive linemen, right? And part of it is they really get you to be efficient in your hand usage. Some of the guys on that list, though they're really good players, they're good because they simply have outdeveloped physically their age cohort. And then when other people sort of catch up with them, and we've seen this happen. We've seen it happen with Benino Jones. There's a list of guys we could talk about where they come out of high school, they're an unstoppable killing machine, destroying everything in their path. And then in college, when they're not up against guys who are 2 or 3 years younger or just developmentally behind them, and all of a sudden there are other guys who are right where they are, even ahead of them physically, in terms of physical development, they then begin to struggle. I think he's the one who's best set up to adapt and survive when he's facing people who are as athletic as he is. And I think he'll learn their system in terms of all the hand fighting and how they set up their counter moves, which I think is ingenious because essentially the way that they coach you, Larry Johnson Sr., for those who remember the running back Larry Johnson, he's his father, is a tremendous coach, and they have a tremendous coaching staff. But they really get you to really develop two moves, right? Basically, an inside move and an outside move. That's essentially what they work you really hard on those first two moves. And you're not a full-time player. You're coming into certain situations. Nobody really knows you fully yet or what to expect from you. And then after they've worked with you for a while, they start giving you, the full menu of options. But I think he's the one that will most quickly pick up the nuances of being a pass rusher. And people think of that as just physical. But all the really great, the truly great, the greatest, the best, have more than just that. And so in the case of Mr. Edric, there's a 257-pounder, so he's fairly physically developed already, and about 6'3.5-ish from, of course, a really good high school in Georgia because, Georgia is essentially, it's not Texas, it's not Florida, but it's right in California, but it's right there. It's consistently a top 3-4 state in terms of football talent, and particularly some of those top programs. It won't be too big for him, and I'm just a little bit surprised that Georgia, well, I guess Georgia can't sign everybody, but I'm a little bit surprised that Georgia is going to let him out of the state, but like I said, I guess you can't sign them all. But yeah, he's a player I really like. I think he'll be really good. Also, I think Alabama at one point had been sort of interested in him. Clemson, I think, had a moderate level of interest, but we'll see. But I like him.
Don, Houston is joined the Big 12 football program as of the 1st of July. Don, what other mediocre program you guys gonna throw in there when Texas and Oklahoma leaves?
Well, BYU also joined, which is going to be very interesting because you got Baylor and TCU still there. So we're a couple of steps away from what I call the God Conference. But yeah, I think BYU adds quite a bit football wise. Houston football, yeah, basketball definitely, and baseball too. Houston, baseball. Yeah, so I think when Texas and Oklahoma leave, I think they're going to probably make a play for UTSA, maybe UTEP. So the Big 12 is going to be around, but schools like Kansas State, Iowa State, Oklahoma State will probably be dominating it.
Okay. Let's talk a little NFL here. Demetrius, we have a new executive director for the Players Association, Mr. Lloyd Howe. What's your thoughts?
Good move by all accounts. I happen to be a D. Smith guy. I think he got a bad rap in a lot of ways, but that relationship had gotten to a point where even D. Smith said, "Hey guys, after this run, I'm done." Right? He let them know last time. I want to do this again. But they went and this was really player driven. This is a guy who I think he graduated from Penn and got an MBA from Harvard. He's been a CFO at Booz Allen Hamilton, a firm founded in Chicago, like turn of the century kind of thing. They've been around forever. This is like a financial cybersecurity firm. This is not a joke. This guy has been, top of the food chain in terms of like the things that need to be done within that job. And I think the players wanted a specific type of person to lead their union. And there was a certain segment of that player base that wanted some of the things that they did not see in D. Smith. And I think by all accounts, they made a great choice. Most of what I've learned happened today because it was just announced today. So most of it, but it sounds like the players drove it, which is the most important thing. So now it's much more difficult for your leader to recommend an agreement and the players be like, this guy doesn't have our interest. No, this is the guy you guys picked, right? Now, by all accounts, everyone has said everything. D. Smith has said great things. Raj came out and made a great statement. Everyone who's spoken about this man speaks very highly. Proof's obviously in the pudding, but it sounds like it was a good choice.
Now you know why you don't get your scripts until 3:00.
Exactly.
Bill, what's your thoughts on Mr. Howe?
Well, once again, there's a little bit of a few shreds of meat, I guess, left on the bone. So Lloyd Howe is a known quantity in certain circles. He obviously is not super well known to not just casual, but even somewhat well known. I mean, somewhat plugged in fans. But as was mentioned, he has a really strong background. He is a person who sat on the board at one point of the Carlisle Group, which is not exactly, I mean, they're kind of, I don't know if you're into this kind of thing, but a favorite of conspiracy theorists, in fact, to hit upon and some of the things that they've been involved in. But he was at Booz Allen Civil and Commercial Group. He's been EVP of Client Services. He was a CEO at one point, or Chief Operating Executive of the Carlisle Group. He's worked in global investment. He was on the boards of Moody's, KL Discovery Inc., Integra Life Science, on the board of trustees for the University of Pennsylvania, member of the board of overseers at Pennsylvania's engineering school. I mean, he's an impressive sounding dude. Member of the Washington Economics Club. He's on a lot of the things that make you sound like, you'd be invited to join, some sort of something where you wear robes and, chant and plan on, how much people, how much weather there'll be in certain places, how much it might rain on a certain day, or, what will happen to the yen price in next May. But despite, I'm half joking, but despite all that, he's an incredibly impressive individual, and there can be no doubt that he knows what he's doing. Like, you can doubt things that you want to, but not this guy. Like, he's got an incredibly impressive background. Just, frankly, he might be overqualified for the position.
Yes, he may be. Don, you want to make any quick remarks on that before I give Demetrius his surprise?
Well, I think, whenever you're into a new position like that, there's a lot of challenges that come up. And so I think he is pretty much, like Bill said, he might be kind of overqualified for. I think he'll handle his job with professionalism and grace. So I look forward to seeing how that works out.
Demetrius, a special surprise tonight. You've actually been waiting for this since I believe the Tigers swept the Twins.
Scott. There it is. There he is.
Good evening, Mr. Scott. How are you doing tonight? We can't hear you.
Greetings.
There you
There he
It's
is. There
wonderful
he is.
to see the gang, and I just have to, before I get into anything, I do have to ask. Demetrius. I just have to ask Demetrius a quick question about his Tigers. And last time I talked to him, he was raving about a gentleman had such great fanfare coming to Detroit. Michael Pineda. Where is Michael Pineda these days? If you have any
We're not gonna
clue,
talk Michael Pineda. You gotta
if
be
he's
kidding
even
me.
on the planet in this country.
I don't know where he is.
Such
Yeah.
great fanfare.
Oh no, you were right about Michael Pineda. I have no problem. So you warned me. You were like, yeah, good luck with that. I hear you. You're absolutely right. Michael Pineda is the least of my concerns. We're building a good young roster that's going to be good for years to come. Michael Pineda will be no part of it.
Oh, so
I love it.
Okay. I'm glad we cleared that up. I'm glad to get that cleared up.
I have no problem
But
saying you were right
Good
about
to see
Michael
you.
Pineda.
Good to see everyone. Thank you.
Good to see you.
So, have you been to any Twins games, or what's going on there, Mr. Scott? I know you had some book
Well, I
signed.
have been.
What were you saying?
I have been to a few Twins games, and then tonight, great Pablo Lopez, the City Royals, who we play about 20 times a year. So
Poor Kansas City Royals. That sucks.
Yeah, Kansas City's been kicked around for a long time. Every once in a while, they come up. They get a Moneyball team, and it works out for them.
They choose to do business that way. So it's not poor. They choose to do business that way. And that's fine. That's what they choose to do. That's fine. But then, just get ready to lose 100 games. It's fine.
All right, guys. Getting back into our NFL topics here, and I know this is going to interest you, and Mr. Scott will probably have a few words to say about it also, Demetrius. But which NFL teams are most likely to end their long playoff drought in 2023? Number one is the Jets. Number two, the Lions. I think last week you told us we could book those tickets.
Yep.
Then the Falcons, though maybe the Broncos are also on that list, looking for a comeback from Russell, and then the Panthers. So Reggie, we know that you're going to say the Lions, of course, but do you see anybody else on that list possibly making the playoffs?
You know what's weird? There's a possibility all 5 of these teams can make the playoffs because that's the league we're talking about. I mean, probably not the Falcons and the Panthers because they're in the same division. 2 teams from that division are not likely going to make it. Either one of those teams has the capacity. So if you want me to go in order, 1 is obvious. All roads go through Allen Park, Michigan. Number 2, shockingly, I'm going to say the Falcons because I think the Falcons are going to win the South. You know who the Jets quarterback is. I don't like talking about the Jets, but I think that's a tough division. Some people like Miami more than me. I love Buffalo. They could make the playoffs. So if you're telling me in order of where I'm putting money that matters to me, 1 is obvious. I would say Falcons 2, then Broncos. Because outside of Kansas City, they can compete in that division, right? So, but there's a world where 4 of them certainly could. Lions, Falcons, Broncos, Jets, Panthers. That's what I think. I'll go that order.
What do you think, Mr. Scott?
Scott's not with us.
Mr. Scott's gone already? You got Don.
I mean, we got the open seat, but he's going somewhere.
So,
Don, what do you think?
So of those teams, and Demetrius will love this. I think Detroit has a good shot of ending that drought. So I would kind of go Detroit, then Atlanta, and then probably the Broncos. The Jets, I'm not sold on just yet, and Panthers, well, But I think the 2 of that, what you gave me, I would say Detroit and Atlanta. And I want Atlanta because they got Bijan, so hopefully they'll.
Always about Texas. It's always about
right.
UT.
Hey, well, I told you, Demetrius, I watch pro football just watch Longhorns.
Right. You drive the Longhorn, Don's a fan.
Don, do you have the Longhorn Network, or is that still around?
Yeah, it'll be around until this is the last year of it. Yes, I have it.
Okay. And what will it be when you guys move to the SEC?
We'll just go SEC Network, but they worked out a deal where every UT game will be televised. So
he haven't cared. So it doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. As long as he can see the game, he doesn't care what's in the bottom left corner of the screen.
Bill, what's your thoughts on these guys making the playoffs?
I will also say that I've got Detroit penciled in for about 10-6. I think they're going to be a playoff team. I think you also on the list was the Patriots, the Jets.
No, the Jets, the
Panthers.
Yeah. Falcons.
The Falcons.
Broncos.
Yeah.
The Lions and the Jets.
Right.
Broncos.
Right. So the Panthers, the Jets, the Falcons, the Broncos. The AFC West is just a little too tough. I think the Broncos will be much improved, but I don't think they're quite in position to be one of the top 2 teams in the West. So they're best the 3rd. I think the Jets will be improved, but probably still maybe they're in a fight, between they and the Patriots for that next spot after Buffalo. I think Buffalo still got a little distance, a little space. Not as much as they did, but a little more distance, space between them. You said the Panthers, Falcons. I mean, the Falcons, it's funny because everyone's been saying the Falcons. I've been talking about the Falcons, so now I feel a little shy because I've been bigging the Falcons up for a while. I feel like I should back off a little bit. But what I will say is I like they have a nice, really group of young, skill position players. A Thunder and faster Thunder running back tandem. They have a wide receiver I think is about to have a breakout year and become a top 12 receiver in the league in Drake London, maybe even top 10. I think Kyle Pitts goes back to being Kyle Pitts and has a top 5 or 6 year amongst all tight ends. And if Desmond Ridder can just keep the car on the road, right? That's all he really has to do. That could be one of the tougher offenses to deal with. I think they're about a 8 or 9 win team, which may be enough, I guess, in that particular situation. But I'm not quite ready to crown them yet, to paraphrase the late great Denny Green. So I think I'll end up going Lions and see, Falcons, Panthers, Broncos,
Jets last.
Jets. Yeah, what the heck? I guess I'll go Jets with the other one, but I'm not in love with that either.
That's how the captain sound when I had to fill in coordinates. Oh, what? Wow, I guess we ran Mr. Scott off there with that question.
You didn't want this smoke. I told you that.
Okay, guys. Staying in that division with the Lions, Jordan Love, was he more or less prepared to take over the Packers job than ayahuasca when Brett Favre left? What do you think, Don?
I think he is not quite as prepared as Roger was at this stage, but I think his ceiling is pretty high. And so I'm kind of interested to see how that goes, because I know that, you know, whenever you're stepping through the footsteps of a legend, it's kind of hard. But, you know, Aaron Rodgers did it with Brett Favre, and so maybe, you know, Jordan Love will surprise us. But I think the Green Bay Packer Nation is just be a little bit patient with what's going on that roster right now.
What do you think, Demetrius? More or less prepared than ayahuasca?
Oh, he's not as good a player as ayahuasca.
No,
So I don't.
we're not
that's
saying
your question, right? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm still gonna say no. I think ayahuasca was ready to roll. He was ready to roll before he got the job, probably. I mean, there's a case that could be made that they did it exactly right. As I look back, he was probably ready to step in half season to a full season before he actually did. They just had to let the Brett Favre drama play out. I don't know that Jordan Love has played as many games, taken as many reps, even practice reps, preseason reps, as ayahuasca did before he took over the job. So I'm going to go no, but I don't think you can dismiss the talent part. That's part of it.
Mr. Scott, what do you think about Jordan Love? Was he more or less prepared than Aaron Rodgers was when he took over?
I don't think we have him still.
I see him, yeah.
He's frozen and his mic's muted. So if he's there,
not
we can't hear.
frozen. I can see his head.
You can see him.
move.
Okay,
I can
sorry.
see his
I
head
don't.
move. I don't.
He's frozen on my screen and he's muted. I don't think he wants to talk about Green Bay anyway. Okay.
Who wants to talk about Minnesota?
No, not exactly. That too.
But Bill, what's your thoughts
On
Jordan Love?
Jordan Love. So I watched a lot of Jordan Love. I wish he'd stayed one more year in school. I think that his development was slowed slightly because, as has been discussed, when you are a young backup quarterback in the NFL, even if you are supposed to take the job at some point, if there's a very established starter who's clearly the number one, you're getting second team reps and probably a fairly small percentage of those reps. So I think it slowed his development for a little while, just the fact that he just wasn't getting a chance to touch the football. But he has a lot of talent. He is accurate. He can throw the ball to all parts of the field. He moves well. I think he's going to do very well. I think they're going to keep it a little simpler for him at first, which is what you would do. And they still have a very good running game. In fact, they should run the ball even more. Maybe that's what they'll do. hopefully they'll run the ball more because they have a really good running game, and I think they get away from it sometimes. But Jordan Love is going to do, like I said, well. I think he'll look like a guy who should be an NFL starter for a decade plus, and I think this year sort of cements him in people's minds as an NFL starter going forward.
What do you think, Don?
About Jordan Love?
Yes.
I already answered that question.
You
I
already
think
covered
he has great upside. I mean, I just think the Packers need to be patient with with someone's coming in new like that. But I mean, he's a talented kid.
Okay, Don, you were talking about that kid from Texas a little while ago. The Falcons seem to be embracing a run-first approach with their drafting of Bijan. Most NFL teams want to pass the ball. Don, how do you think that's going to work out this season?
Well, the thing about Bijan is you can throw the ball with him in the backfield too because he's great. He's a great underrated at blitz pickups, and he's an awesome receiver coming out of the backfield. He probably could play wide receiver for a lot of teams. So, run first, pass first. I don't know, but he's a Swiss Army knife as far as running backs go. And they can put him on kickoff return if they need to. So he's just that kind of. He's that special kind of player. So, but if you're going to develop a run first attitude, for your team, Bijan's a good place to start.
What do you think Demetrius? I mean, you don't have a lot of quarterbacks in that division that's going to set it on fire. What, Derek Carr, Baker Mayfield, who's the other two?
Desmond Ritter, most likely in Atlanta, right?
Ritter for Atlanta, and then the Panthers. So, I mean, do you think that the Panthers can win that division as a run-first team?
The Falcons with Bijan, or you mean the Panthers?
I mean the Falcons with Bijan.
They can. I think they will. Bijan will make Desmond Ritter's life easier. It will make Desmond Ritter's growth curve shorter. And to Don's point, he can do everything. He makes their receivers better. He makes Kyle Pitts better. So they're quietly putting together a nice little roster. Drake London is a good receiver. Kyle Pitts is a really good tight end. If Desmond Ritter can just not lose games in that division, Atlanta's going to be a tough out. I picked them to win the division. I stick with it. Still like Derek Carr. I just think they're a better, specifically offense, than New Orleans. But I think Bijan's the centerpiece of that offense. And run first, I'm fine with that. If you got Bijan Robinson, you better be run first. And then as long as he touches the ball 18, 20 times a game, I don't care how he touches it, right? And there'll be games where I think he'll get 8 rushes and 10 catches. I think he'll have a game like that. And a lot of games will be the opposite, where he'll run the ball 12, 14 times, and he'll get 5, 6 catches. You got to find a way to get the ball in his hands, because that trio, him, Drake London, Kyle Pitts, that could end up being a really good trio on the offense side of the ball in this league.
Don, Dak's cap hit is set to jump from the 26.9 million this year to 59.5 million next year. Don, is Dak going to be next season's ayahuasca?
Could be. See, this is what just drives Dallas fans crazy, or things like this. You have a guy who is a good quarterback. Don't get me wrong, Dak is a good quarterback. Is he $59 million worth quarterback? No, he's not. He's not even that close. So this is, Jerry Jones writing checks, his ass can't, cash. So I don't know. I don't know what Dak's future is going to be. I love Dak. He's an awesome person. But to spend that kind of money, you have to be more than just a good person. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you have to, you have to produce, and getting knocked out first round playoffs is not going to cut it. And it's going to be kind of hard because Philadelphia's over there thinking, oh yeah, we'll whip your ass again, and Washington isn't there yet, but they're getting better. So I mean, it's just going to be a tough race in that division.
What do you think, Demetrius? Is Dak going to be the next year's ayahuasca? The one, looking for maybe, something happens to Tua, maybe, maybe the Raiders are looking for somebody. What do you think?
Well, I think it could be, and it'll. I actually like Dak Prescott more than a lot of other people, so I don't think so. So if it is the case, it'll be numbers driven, right? It'll be money driven. I don't know Dallas's cap situation, right? But sometimes the cap pinches you to a point where you have to do something. You generally don't do it with your quarterback, though. And I don't know how old Dak is. I feel like he's only 27, 28.
Yeah, he's still young. He's still young.
I don't know that needs to be the case. You can live in a world if you manage the rest of your roster and the rest of your cap correctly. What's most likely to happen is they redo his deal and bring the number down, right? He's your quarterback. You can't eat $60 million in one player. The cap doesn't work that way. So what happens is they rework his deal. That number comes down and Dak's still a quarterback. That's the most likely occurrence. So I don't see an ayahuasca situation because Dak's not done. Dak's got years of good football left in him. And when you have a quarterback of his caliber, top 10 guy, you don't let him go over money. You fix the money, right? You put years and deferred payments and odd bonuses into his contract so that cap number comes down. So they'll manage the number. Dak's not 39 and is not sitting in dark rooms smoking weed, as far as we know. So I don't know that Dak will be that next year.
What do you think, Bill? That salary almost doubles or more than doubles.
Yep. I've seen the cap hit. He's not going anywhere for a little while. Should he stay healthy, I think he'll have a big bounce back here. I think he's one of those guys that is now in a situation where he can, quote unquote, be himself, and he should do well.
You still think is he a top 10 quarterback, Bill, in the league?
I think he's still a top 10 quarterback, but he's just held on by his fingernails. And so that's why, the development of people like Desmond Ridder is so big, because somebody's going to get pushed off the island.
Right. And there are guys in Dallas, I found out last week, who believe Cooper Rush is a better quarterback. So there are people down there who are very impatient and think Cooper Rush should be the quarterback.
They were saying that last year when Dak came back.
Oh, no, I had a guy in Dallas tell me last week Cooper Rush would be the quarterback by week 4. And Dak won't be injured. And I told him to check the cap numbers. So that's interesting concept.
Don, is Tony Pollard going to be the Cowboys' leading rusher?
Well, yeah, he will. They did draft that kid out of Kansas State, who is a very dynamic running back. He's hard to tackle. He's only 5'8", so I think his name is Deuce Vaughn. Yeah, but yeah, just by default, Pollard will be the leading rusher.
You believe that, Bill? After the injury?
Say that again?
I asked Bill if you believe that after the injury.
You talking about Tony Pollard?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think Tony Pollard's also lined up for a bounce back. He's young enough and has been sound enough physically for most of his football career that makes you believe that was sort of a one-off kind of situation. He's not a guy who's had it's one thing when guys have a series of injuries, or is that a sort of a player that's towards the end and their body's starting to break down. He's neither of those two things. I think it was just something that happens, just football, and he's sort of bounced back in a big way.
What do you think, Demetrius?
He will definitely be their leading rusher. He will be the center point of the offense. And I agree with Bill on the health thing. I think that was more of an aberration. his data points, his historical data points suggest he'll be fine. They use him very effectively. I don't really care if he's their lead rusher. He will be. That's not his total value, though. He's a nightmare for the defensive coordinator on the other team to think about Wednesday night before the game and figure out how we're going to stop Tony Pollard. It's not just about rushing. So he's a bigger weapon than that for them, but he will be their leading rusher. And I think he'll stay healthy and, to Bill's point, have a bounce back year.
Bill, the Rams signed free agent cornerback Akila Williams. Yeah, Witherspoon. Yeah, used to be a Steeler. Colin Coward says that the Rams,
and a Cowboy too, right, Don?
What's that?
And a Cowboy too before that, right, Don?
Yeah, he was once a Cowboy. Yeah,
I believe so.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, Coward says the Rams will finish second in the NFC West and make the playoffs. Bill, do you agree or not?
I don't think they make the playoffs. They may well finish second in the West, so I half agree. I think the West as a whole is down. I think the 49ers will not be as good this year as they were last year. So I do think they are a 9 or 10 win team, but I don't think they'll end up being enough.
What do you think, Don? Are the Rams bouncing back this year?
I like their chances. I think they have a good shot of doing that.
What do you think there, Demetrius?
Yeah, I have unnatural love for their quarterback. So of course I think they're going to bounce back. If number 9's healthy, that's still a good football team. They still have Aaron Donald. They still got Cooper Kupp. They still have some talent on that team. Now, to Bill's point, being the second best team in the West ain't saying much. I don't think the second best team in the West is going to scare anybody. I think San Francisco is the class of that division, and it's probably by a long stretch because I don't believe in the Seattle Seahawks either. So I think San Francisco wins the division. The Rams could finish second. I don't think it gets you in the playoffs, but I think there are 8-9 wins maybe.
Okay. Demetrius, 21 Lions will become unrestricted free agents after the 2023 season. And your running back went to the Saints, I believe. So who's going to be your new leading rusher?
So Jahmyr Gibbs is a rookie out of Alabama. We took at 12, and we signed David Montgomery from the Bears. We are what you talked about earlier, a run-first team, because Jared Goff is one of the best play-action quarterbacks in this league. So our offense is predicated on the run. The 21 free agents doesn't bother me. Brad Holmes will have an Executive of the Year trophy in his house soon. He knows that. He has managed the cap well. Some of those are one-year deals. C.J. Gardner-Johnson, if he fits and he likes it, we'll just re-up him, right? Their guy, Jonah Jackson, is one that matters, the left guard. He knows these contracts. And you got Penei Sewell coming, and you got Amon-Ra St. Brown coming. He is managing the cap well, signing really smart deals. When a guy is where we need him to be and what we want in the right age, like Cam Sutton, you give him 3 years. Other guys like Emmanuel Mosley and others, they get 1 year. But you draft a linebacker in Rodriguez last year. You draft another one this year in Jack Campbell. You let Jamal go because we have a structure, and we offered Jamal a certain amount, and he didn't want it, and he left. And David Montgomery took that money because David Montgomery fits what we do. Then we drafted Jahmyr Gibbs, quietly a kid named Mo Ibrahim out of Minnesota. Don't sleep on him. Mo Ibrahim is a really good football player. He's just small, but he's got a place. Craig Reynolds, a guy we got a couple of years ago out of small school, Kuhnstown, I think he went to. So we have running backs on our roster. I'm not worried about the running back room. I'm not worried about free agency. I think they managed the cap well, and he's drafting well. So I hope we re-sign Jonah Jackson. But if we don't, we'll have somebody ready to slide over, whether it's Graham Glasgow comes back on a longer deal or Vaitai slides over, or we draft one next year. I don't have any issue with Brad Holmes and how he does his job. I believe he will ultimately be recognized as one of the better 5-6 executives in the league. He has turned our team around in 2 years, and the previous regime left him hot garbage. That's what he had when he showed up. Outside of Stafford, hot garbage. And he has turned that into a team that's going to win the North and be a serious contender on the NFC side of the ledger this year. So, yeah, I'm not worried because as long as Brad Holmes has that job, I'm not really concerned about free agents or any of that stuff. Ultimately, though, if somebody plays up, they'll get paid. But you got to earn it. You got to earn it here. So,
Do you think that the line should pursue Cook or D-Hop?
not Cook. Cook would be the third or fourth best back in our running back room, in my opinion.
Wow.
I think Jahmyr Gibbs is about to be Alvin Kamara-esque. I think people just are sleeping on Jahmyr Gibbs. I don't know why. And David Montgomery has been a productive back in Chicago, and he fits our system. And Dalvin Cook is older, has taken more hits, has had more carries, more tread on the tires, as they say. He would be our third back. He could play, but do I take Craig Reynolds, who's 27 and been in our system for a couple years? Yeah, I'll take Mo Ibrahim. I don't know that D-Hop's a fit here. I think D-Hop would say he's not a fit here. I'm not D-Hop. Sorry, Dalvin Cook. D-Hop fit anywhere because I think he's still one of the best 6'7" receivers in football. And yeah, if the money's right, I'd love to have him as a Lion. With Jamison Williams out 6 weeks for the fraudulent gambling suspension, don't get me started on that. Josh Reynolds is solid. Amon-Ra St. Brown is a Pro Bowler. D-Hop would slide right into the X spot, and I'd love it. Probably not going to give him 4 years, and somebody else is. Somebody's going to give him 4 years and $63 million. I don't think we're going to do that. For all the reasons I just talked about, it's like rolling over our roster, 21 free agents, managing our cap. When you manage your cap a certain way and run your organization a certain way, you don't give a 30-year-old receiver 4 years and $65 million. So I would love him as a fan. He would be great this year, but I think next year Jamison Williams is going to be a superstar. He's going to be our take-the-top-off guy. Amon-Ra is going to take everything underneath. We got a young tight end named Sam Laporta out of Iowa that's going to stretch the field in that way. Jahmyr Gibbs is going to catch 50 balls out of the backfield. I think we're fine. D-Hop can join any roster. I don't know the roster that D-Hop doesn't make better. I just don't know that we can pay him like somebody else will.
I think he's going to go on a shorter deal, but we'll see as it gets.
If he'll take one, he's welcome.
Yeah. Don, Max Dugan, he joined his other two TCU teammates as the Chargers picked him in the 7th round. Wide receiver Quentin Johnson and tight end Darius Davis were the 1st and 4th round picks, respectively. Don, what's your thought on the Chargers?
Well, I think the Chargers. I don't know if they planned it that way, but I think it works out good for them because when you have guys who've known each other for 4 or 5 years in college, I think that's a good thing. You develop a familiarity, you develop a kinship, and so Max Dugan knows how to hit Quentin Johnson. Just put it that way. I mean they're a tandem, so I think that works out well for the Chargers as a team, especially in the locker room.
Yeah, I agree.
What do you think, Bill? Bill? Uh-oh.
Lost Bill.
Bill.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
So you're asking about the Lions again?
Chargers.
No,
We're asking about the Chargers.
Oh, the Chargers. Okay, so
We're talking about how they drafted Max Dugan after they took the wide receiver and the tight end from TCU also.
Right. So, yeah, well, I think Quentin Johnston has a chance to push his way into playing. Maybe not as a full-time starter, but I think he'll play, and I think he'll make an impact. He's got a big body and speed. He reminds me a lot of Braylon Edwards, for those who remember Braylon Edwards when he was coming out. Very similar player. And like Braylon, he occasionally has some issues with focus drops and things like that. But I think he'll get better at that. He's working right now on snatching the ball out of the air. He's doing a lot of work on that. So I think that he'll end up making an impact as a wide receiver 3/4. I don't think that's going to work out for Mr. Max Duggan for a couple of combinations of reasons. One, he's going to be too far down the depth chart to ever get really any reps. Best case scenario, he runs some scout team reps. Two, he is not good. So
how's that not one, Bill? Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
Because
it's like Ben Simmons. He can play defense, but he can't shoot. Right?
He's just two. He's not good. Okay. I feel like that should have been one.
Well, but they're at least number two rather anticlimactic if you open with that.
That's true.
But his best opportunity, and I'm only half kidding when I say this, is to see if he can maybe become. He's a tough guy and reasonably athletic. Can he become like a undersized linebacker? I mean, he's just not good enough as a quarterback. He'd have to do something different.
Okay. You agree with that assessment, Demetrius?
Yeah, actually, he's right. That's why I'm so I think Quentin Johnston's curve might be a little shorter because he's got a really good quarterback in Justin Herbert. I think they're going to try and use his size and his abilities to. I don't know that Duggan ever sees the field after preseason game 2. I don't know when the cuts happen. I think it's after 2. There's a dramatic cut. I think that's when Duggan starts updating his XFL resume. I think the other 2 guys both make the roster. Quentin Johnston is a starter soon, and I'm probably more aligned with Bill. He'll be a starter, certainly by the middle of the season. He's got a football body. It is the thing. He's got a great catch radius, but as Bill said, there might be some drops, right? But I think he's got a future in the league. He's big. He's got a body. He's I don't compare anybody to anybody that went to Michigan. So I think that I'll find a different comp next week. I like Quentin Johnston. The TCU piece is just mildly interesting because Bill was so nice to just say he's not that good. Max Duggan's not going to play quarterback in the NFL. Sorry, it's nobody's fault. He can play something else, special teams, but he won't be an NFL quarterback. And I think the tight end can make the roster. I don't know things about it.
Yeah.
Demetrius, how much of a sample will you need to know if Jimmy G is the long-term solution at quarterback for the Raiders?
17 games, which is an absurd ask. I know, but in a calendar year, right? Okay, I'll be reasonable because most quarterbacks not named Jared Goff miss games. So if he plays 14 games in the regular season, he wins. I mean, I'm not a big. He wins. He just doesn't play enough, right? So the question is specifically if he's the 14 games, 14 healthy games. I don't care about the record, by the way. I just need him to play 14 games. Now, in theory, he could play 14 games and they could be 7-7. I would say it's probably not him. It's probably the rest of the roster. I need him to play 14 games. I don't even think that's a big ask. Play 14 games. That's my number.
Don, what's your number?
I'm going to say 6 to 7 games.
That's his average.
I know. That's what I'm saying. So
okay.
he gets the bare minimum. We should know what's going on. I think if he gets to the season without an injury, I think he'll be fine. But I think if he's healthy 6 or 7 games, I think we'll know something.
I think if he only plays 6 or 7 games, they have a new quarterback next year.
Well, yeah. But I'm just saying.
I think that's what you're saying, right? Yeah.
Yeah, 6 or 7 games, we'll know whether he's the man or he needs to go back to, doing the porn stuff. So.
Right. So I might have misunderstood the question. Are you talking about how many games does the Garoppolo play before we know if he's any good, or how many?
Before we know whether or not he is the solution for
then it's all health related. It's
yes.
all health. He's got to play. He's got to play.
So
They're
for
not good enough
you,
to win 12 games. If he played all 17, they probably still only win 8 or 9. I think he's got to play, or they got to replace him.
I'm saying that through 7 games, they're 5 and if they're 5-2 or better, then he's probably the long-term solution. Less than that, no, he's not.
Oh, I got you. So if he plays the first 7, they're 5-2, and then he misses the rest of the season. The following year, he's still your quarterback, right? That's how I read the question. That's what I thought you meant, right?
Yeah,
Because to me, it's all health. I think if he plays 7 games, they might be 5-2.
I'm going with the assumption that he's going to be healthy full season.
Oh, come on, Don.
I'm just,
You're just too nice, guy. You're too nice.
he's still playing behind the Raiders' offensive line.
That's too nice. That is way too nice.
The glass is half full.
Yeah, exactly. That's generous. It's
Bill.
half full of sweet tea. At Cooper's.
What's your thoughts, Bill?
I think the over-under is right around 12. So if you put it at 12, I think he just barely makes the over. I think he gets to 13 game. But
you think Garoppolo's going to play 13 games?
I think he plays in 12 or 13. I think he makes it.
Oh.
I think it's a big year for him. First of all, it's his last chance, to some extent, to prove to people he can be a long-time NFL starter. He's a young old player. I mean, or that he's not old, but and he hasn't played a lot. So there's a perception that he's younger than he probably really is. But if he doesn't begin to put together closer to full seasons, yeah, people are going to be out on him. And he has a really strong connection, obviously, with Josh McDaniels. That helps. I believe that he probably gets 2 years to prove that he isn't the starter because of McDaniels' belief in him. But for me, if you're asking for me, I want to see minimum of 12, and my projection I think is 13. I don't know if he'll finish all 13, but I think he starts.
Okay. Bill, let's see. Josh Allen wants the NFL media to let it go regards to the Diggs drama. Bill, do you think this offseason drama will impact Josh Allen and the Bills Super Bowl hopes?
Yes.
Not. Okay, go ahead. I thought I was gonna get more than one word for Bill. But
I mean, how could it not? You're talking about not just a player and a really good one, but a guy that, frankly, some of the young players on the team look up to. So if that guy is demonstrably unhappy, even if they keep him, and I think they will keep, I mean, where's he going to go? So he's going to be on the team and be demonstrably unhappy. Now, they could fix all that. Now, admittedly, they did a new deal for him fairly recently. But somehow, magically, people's personality problems seem to just evaporate when they get a bunch of new money. Even if they just end up doing a restructure that maybe pushes forward some of the guaranteed money or something, I think a lot of this will go away. But yeah, they can't move him, so he's playing.
Don, I mean, what do you do when your wide receiver is the second most targeted guy in the whole league, and he tells you he needs more targets?
Well, this is the double-edged sword you have. You have a great player who may or may not be, an issue with the rest of the team in the locker room. I think what Diggs needs to realize is that Josh Allen is going to find out he's going to find the open man, and he's going to do what it takes to get the Bills to win. So hopefully that drama will subside once the season starts. Sometimes it's best to keep your mouth shut, don't get on Twitter, and just play ball.
But Demetrius, I mean, it sounds good what Don's saying, but it seems to me that with Allen, if Diggs isn't open, he decides to run.
I think that Bill put it best. Yes. Full stop. The question is, will it impact their? Yes, because you either are looking for one of two things. You're looking for Stephon Diggs to change his behavior. Good luck with that. Or you're looking for the Buffalo Bills to alter their offensive schematics. And if you do that, you have answered your question. It will impact their ability to win. So, because you're right, James. Should Josh Allen not take off when his body, his skills, his experience instinctively tell him it's time to run? Should he wait and go, what? Let me check with Stephon one more time. Because you know what that's going to be? That's going to be sacks. That's going to be a sack. That's what that's going to be, right? So Bill actually nailed it. Yes. No matter how you peel this apple, there's a core in the middle. And what makes Stephon Diggs great also creates this. Way back 2 hours ago, we talked about a guy, World B. Flat. When somebody tells you, shows you what they are, believe them. And Stephon Diggs is eminently talented. He's a talented receiver. This drama, they didn't fix it because there's only two ways to fix it. Three, I guess. You can move him. He can change his behavior, or you change the way you run your offense. The way you run your offense has had you contending to go to the Super Bowl probably 3 years. The likelihood of Stephon Diggs changing who he is, I don't know him, but I don't think it's high. And trading him is very difficult. Contract, baggage, whatever it is. It's difficult. So, of course, it's going to impact him. I'm going back to yes.
So when Aaron Rodgers goes to the convention for psychedelics, never mind. I'm getting off topic.
When he tells you, James, believe him.
Demetrius, Deshaun Watson will be having his first full season with the Clowns. How do you think this is going to impact Nick Chubb?
Not much. Nick Chubb is right now one of the 5 best running backs in the National Football League. And if you are smart, and I like to believe Kevin Stefanski, I don't really care if Kevin Stefanski is or not. I believe he is. You do everything off of Nick Chubb. I don't know that you do everything off of Deshaun Watson. I think Nick Chubb makes Deshaun Watson better. The effective use of Nick Chubb makes Deshaun Watson better. And I don't think it matters because they're still the 4th best team in their division. But your question is Nick Chubb's production? I think it's still there. He still will be a top 4 fantasy football draft pick. And he should be.
What's your thoughts on that, Don? Is his production going to go up? Is it going to go down?
Chubb's got his work cut out for him because he will be running. I'm not sold on Deshaun Watson shaking off all that rust he's accumulated. Hopefully proves me wrong. But I just I don't know. The Cleveland Browns need to get like a team therapy couch or something because they got so much crap going on. But Chubb's he's a gamer, so I'm expecting him to have a pretty good season. Like they said, it takes that pressure off Deshaun Watson.
No gratuitous massage reference.
Hey, you know what? I don't blame a guy getting a rub down.
That was worth it.
Bill, what's your thoughts on Mr. Watson and whether Nick Chubb is going to be as productive as usual?
Yeah, well, I'll begin first with also professing my deep and abiding love for Nick Chubb. He is an extremely consistent, productive player. And the only real thing you poke holes in, he's not a great receiver of the football. And that's why, of course, until very recently, they would sort of farm that out, to the other half of their running back tandem. There's not a lot that you can really other than that, you can really take shots or criticize. Other than that, he's very complete. Deshaun Watson should be dramatically better this year. That still might not be enough, but he should be much better this year. I still think that they are bringing up the rear in the division, but I think they narrowed the gap.
I think so too. We'll see. Dave will be back next week, so Bill, you're going to have to be our Steeler expert this week. And there was a very interesting fact I found out this week. And I'm going to do these a little backwards. The Steelers have one of the most expensive wide receiver corps. I looked at it, and it's $31 million. It's exactly the same as the Buffalo Bills and the Cincinnati Bengals. Bill, do you think that maybe we could give up some of this quantity and maybe pursue D-Hop?
Well, okay. It's a fun thing to say about any of the teams that are contenders. It's fun to say about Buffalo. It's fun to say about Kansas City. It's the other teams. It's fun to talk about that. One, we have to see how much money he's willing to sign for, which I think is slowly dropping over time, particularly once he knows he doesn't have to go to training camp, which veterans hate, and he wants to go to a contender, which, once again, is why I mentioned those two teams. There's a few other teams that mentioned the Browns were interested. I don't know if his interest is returned and back to their direction. The Patriots might be a good fit. They have or can easily make enough cap room. They have a real need in the wide receiver room for reliable veterans and really just for decent players.
I don't care about the Patriots. I'm talking about the Steelers.
I mean, he's a possession receiver, James, and a good one, but that's not a desperate need for the Steelers. The thing the Steelers have struggled with is that person that, quote-unquote, takes the top off the defense, right? That's not the thing that he does. Now, Calvin Austin III has a healthy season and becomes that, which I think he might. Now we're talking, because that opens up things underneath for Freiermuth and for all the other, Deontay Johnson, all these other sort of possession receiver types. So he would just take food off the plate of some other similar receivers, but he doesn't do something that different from the players you already have on the roster.
Okay. Will Najee Harris still maintain that workhorse role for the Steelers, Bill?
I think intentionally they're trying to say no to that. I think they want Najee not to, lead the league in touches again. I mean, I think he had 428, something like that. I mean, he had a lot of touches. So I think the goal is to get him down about 60-ish touches from that. So the answer is no. I mean, I think he'll still be a major part of the offense, but I think they want him to be, maybe the second most important player or third most important player in the offense, as opposed to clearly number one.
Kenny Pickett had 2 concussions last year, Bill, and do you think what do you think about that new helmet that he's going to try out? Bill?
Yep.
I was talking about Kenny Pickett. What do you think about his new helmet? He had 2 concussions last
year. The helmet, the anti-concussion helmet. Well, one is I hope they get good data off of it, and if it works, everyone should wear it. I think that for a very long time, we sort of accepted that helmet technology was about as good as it's going to get, and then it sort of plateaued for about, 15, 20 years, and I'm glad that in the last decade or so, we've seen a lot of development and growth in that area again. So my hope is that, one, like I said, that it gives them the data that allows them to find out if it's working or not. And if it does, everyone should wear it.
Don, your final thoughts, my man.
My final thoughts. Well, as y'all know, I am a huge, huge college football fan. And if I'm not in Austin, throw away, I'm on my couch watching ESPN Game Day. But ESPN Game Day is making a lot of changes. I don't know if y'all have been keeping up with that. And
yes,
so
a lot of people have been fired or let go.
Yeah, so I don't know how they're just don't know. It's been a part of my routine for the last 20 years. Gene Wachowski and for David Pollock, but it's I don't know why. I just don't like change, especially when you really don't understand why it's coming from. So my final thoughts: I'm going to miss ESPN Game Day the way it was. I'll give it a shot, but we'll see. I was late getting on today. I had a visitor come visit me today at my house. My niece came by to show me her engagement ring. So my niece is getting married. I haven't set a date, but the guy she's marrying, he's a local football coach. He's 24 years old. He actually played baseball at Sam Houston State, and so good guy. So we're excited.
Okay, hey, more additions to the family. All right. Bill, your final thoughts.
On this day, in the year 1947, history was made. And
Great year, by the way. 1947. Great year.
Yes. Right, correct. On this day in 1947, history was made. And history that's somewhat been overshadowed by some earlier historic moments in that same sport. The color line was broken again, this time in the American League by Larry Doby. Probably playing his second best sport, right? A tremendous all-around athlete. Basketball, football, baseball, much like the other guy. Much like Jackie Roosevelt Robinson, who was playing probably his third best sport and made the Hall of Fame. But Larry Doby was a terrific all-around athlete, had been a tremendous player with the Newark Eagles, where he was on a team that was run by a woman, and really a great, interesting woman herself. But Larry Doby broke the color line on this day in 1947 and ran to a lot of the same things that Jackie Roosevelt Robinson did, but with much less attention paid, because when you're the second to do something, even though you're the first to do it in that particular league, there's just not the same attention. There's not movies made. There's not statues erected. People don't name their child after you, at least not to the same extent. So I think people have forgotten about the greatness and the courage of Larry Doby. And in addition to, just like I said, the courage it took to be that trailblazer, he was a really, really good baseball player. And I think some of that's also been lost. I don't think people fully understand what he was as a player. And we talk about guys who could have played in any era. He was, I've seen him listed at like 6'1", 180. I've looked at him, like pictures of him, and I've seen his, like weigh-in numbers for football. Though he's listed at a lot of places at 6'1", 180, he was 180 like his junior year of high school. I don't know where they're getting 180 from. He was at least 205 pounds. Powerful, fast, a tremendous all-around player with a career WAR of 56.8. That's a really good player. 64 stolen bases, so not the same kind of speed merchant that Jackie was. But he had a 288 batted average, 273 home runs, despite that he missed, obviously, several of his best years. Both, once again, military service and the Negro Leagues. But, we're talking about a guy with a career OPS of 888, lifetime, would have been well over 2,000 hits if not for what we talked about. Ended up with 1,697 hits. And I think people have a sense that he was good. I don't think they realize, like I said, how good he was. And I just want to hit one time on that year, that in that 1 year that he really sort of broke through as a player, which was 1950, he put up one heck of a year. He had 164 hits that year. He had a 442 on base percentage, 986 OPS, 545 slugging. He had 274 total bases in a 154 game season. He was a contender for the MVP that year. He had 25 home runs. I mean, just a great all-around season that year. One of his best. He had a couple other really good seasons as well. So, unfortunately, like I said, not unfortunately, but because of what Jackie did, there's a tendency to sort of miss it. This guy was a 9-time All-Star, twice played in the World Series, and of course, eventually did become a Hall of Famer, though it took him a little longer. So, first of all, just recognition for what Larry Doby did as a historical figure, a somewhat overlooked historical figure, like I said, and just what a great all-around athlete and like a great baseball player he was. So I'm glad we get a chance to talk a little bit about Larry Doby today because he deserves, frankly, more time and attention than he's often given.
Yeah, one of my grandfather's favorite players. I remember getting one of those little bats about this big, Larry Doby written on it.
Yeah, so Lawrence Eugene.
They don't give those little bats out to kids anymore. Wonder why. Demetrius, take us home, my man.
Staying with baseball.
Where are you at today, by the way? Are you in Dallas?
No, I'm home.
Okay.
Yeah. Staying with the theme of baseball, and well done, Bill. Couldn't agree more. Absolutely. I have had the conversation many times about greatest baseball player of all time. I'm going to throw on my black socks. I'm going to go stand on my porch and yell at some little kids. And then I'm going to say, for me, my entire life, I will have the debate about what order the three guys are in. But the three for me are always Hank Aaron, Babe Ruth, and Willie Howard Mays Jr. in whatever order you want. Willie Mays is my one. But we can have that discussion. But 29 years ago today, Kyoko and Toru Otani had a baby. And there is a very real chance the guy who may end up being fourth on that list was born 29 years ago today. I don't do hyperbole often. We might be watching. And it's tough because I love Joe Morgan. You know how I feel about so many guys, right? We might be watching the fourth greatest player of all time. And some people might say he deserves to be in the conversation with the other three. I just think when you put in longevity, change the game, what those guys did, I'll never change. Everybody else is competing for fourth place. We might be watching number 4 right now. So if you don't love baseball, cool, I get it. But if you just think, why do people like me love baseball? He just completed a month of June that a lot of people are saying is the greatest month in the history of baseball. He batted .394, 15 home runs, 29 RBIs, .492 on base percentage. His OPS, and if you don't know what it is, trust me, 1.44 is a really good OPS. Oh, by the way, I love when I get to say, oh, by the way, he's also a pitcher who had a .326 ERA with 37 strikeouts. That's just the month of June, right? We might be watching the fourth greatest player in the history of this game, 150 years or whatever it is. It's a thing, guys. It's not hyperbole. It's not talk. It's not hype. It's not. This guy might be in that conversation. I might have to change mine to the top 4 at some point. Shohei Ohtani turned 29 today. If you get a chance, if you have any love for baseball at all, and you can catch a game, you might want to watch this dude play baseball because it's a thing. It's not a joke. It's a thing. So happy birthday to Shohei. And I hope I got his parents' names right. But as a baseball guy, all that crap that I hate, the clock and the guy on second base and all the shift nonsense, this guy is something you should carve out some time this summer and watch this guy play baseball. Sadly, he's playing for a team that nobody gives a damn about. But for now, in a month, he might be wearing a different jersey. Doesn't matter. He might be one of those. Right. And oh, by the way, he's gonna get a check for $500 million in about 8 months. So, and he might literally deserve every penny. For the record, he might deserve every penny of it. So check out Shohei. He's worth it.
The Mets are working on it right now as we speak.
And they should be. They won't be the only ones. And it will probably be money well spent. It really will. So Shohei is the real deal. It's my final thoughts. Good show, guys.
Yeah, I don't think Shohei wants to go to the Mets. He might want to go somewhere else. But anyway, hey, great show, guys. Hope to see everybody next week. You guys have a great day.
All right. Have a
Glad to
good one.
see everybody made it through the 4th of July. Everybody made it through safe.
All 10 all 10 digits. Don, you got all the digits? There we go.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, there you go.
That's
Hey.
exactly. All right,
All
guys.
right,
Take
guys.
care.
See you
Good night.
next week.
All righty.